Yo, welcome back to another video. This is actually take 3. I already recorded this 2 times, but it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to be. So here we go again. This is gonna be somewhat similar to my last video about my DK. This is gonna be about some tips and tricks for optimizing your playstyle in general, but mostly your survivability. You probably know a lot of this already, but yeah, maybe it's gonna help one or two of you. So my first point on the list would be clever usage of D&D. D&D obviously being Death and Decay. So since we're obviously playing with Tightening Grasp, which slows enemies by 70%, what I mean by clever usage is using this either to pull for you or especially to make a pull easier so you don't get hit by the enemies as much. And what this means, I'm gonna show you or explain to you on a few examples. For example, in Ifashara, when you do the big crab pull and the goblins, whenever you pull everything and you gather them up, obviously you have to get aggro first before your DPS can actually start doing anything. So what you want to do is you want to place your D&D in a location so all the trash somewhat gathers in the D&D or around the D&D, so they get slowed. Then you can master, you can pop your dancing weapon in them without actually being in the pack. Using Blood Bowl as I showed you in my Halls of Valor video. On range to get some threat, you can also use consumption on range as well. It will still hit with your dancing moon weapon, and that way you're not as likely to proc or just take a lot of damage from these big pulls because of your D&D. You can do the same basically in Black or Cold. After the first boss, you go up the stairs, you have the spiders. They hit quite hard and they give you the nasty dot, which you can prevent from getting by using AMS, which I'm gonna get after this. I'm gonna get to after this one. But anyways, when you get down, you want to put your D&D in front of the doorway so all the spiders walk through that, so they don't rush towards you and just melee you to death, because that's most likely going to happen if you don't slow them fast enough. And the Warlock with its seed, it's gonna take some time until the seed of your Warlock is gonna explode and actually slow them, and by that time they might hit you. So yeah, you can do that as well. And my last example for Vault, on the mini boss, after the first 2 packs, you have the mini boss in the middle, and you have left and right 2 of the non-elites, the non-elite packs that do hit for a lot, and since they're so stacked, they will probably all melee you at the same time when you run into this pack. So you can easily pull them with the mini boss without ever touching them. So what you want to do is you pull the mini boss, you move towards them, and you just kind of pull them with your D&D so they run towards you in the D&D, and they're not actually going to touch you. So yeah. Now I'm gonna get to AMS and IBF. Obviously, Icebound Fortitude and Anti-Magic Shell. Both can be used as damage reduction as well as absorb or immunity. Few examples would be AMS, the droplets in Seed. They give you a nasty dot, and if you pop AMS, you will be immune to this dot. Same in Ifashara with the goblins. They actually use somewhat a magical or nature ability, which is like a slash or something, and that will slow you and deal damage. You can also prevent this from happening whenever you use AMS. IBF can also be super good in lower, for example, when you do the big pull in the area with horsemen upstairs with all the guardsmen, I believe, that can stun you, that are also present in the hallway towards Maiden. And since they move while they cast the stun, which is a bit scuffed actually, it can get scary in a big pull, and when you mask grip them and you're still in their asshole, they can stun you pretty fast, so IBF can save your ass there. Also, I don't think a lot of people know this, but on Morose, when he uses Vanish on you in order to garrot you, you can actually pre-use IBF, and since the Vanish is gonna stun you, or let's say the Garrot is gonna stun you, it cannot stun you because of the IBF. This does not only remove the stun from you or prevent you from getting stunned, this also prevents you from getting the dot itself. Really good, really good. Moving on, Mask Grip. I actually used to do this mistake back in the days where when I did a big pull I used to Mask Grip on myself in order to have a 360 degrees, so to speak, range. But obviously that's a stupid idea because on this server the trash tends to hit you all at the same time when they reach you. This is not supposed to work like that, but anyways, you gotta play around this. And instead of gripping on yourself, you want to grip on the enemy in front of you. So you would cast Mask Grip on this NPC here instead of yourself, so they all get gripped towards her. You can put D&D down and you're not gonna have to deal with the melees. I know you probably know this, but I'm gonna say it anyways. This can change a lot actually. Clever usage of Deathstrike. So this took me a while to explain in the first two tries, so I'm gonna try to make this short because this video is gonna turn out way longer than I expected it to be. What I mean by clever usage, for example, we take DHT, the tree. If this guy grabs you with Crushing Grip, it deals a lot of damage. And of course you can prevent this with Anti-Magic Shell and the Rune Tap. But if you don't have Anti-Magic Shell, what you want to do is you want to check your HP bar. So this does not only apply to this spell in specific, but to any damage basically that is predictable. So when you have damage that is predictable, like this grip for example here, you want to pay attention and close attention to your HP bar. So let's say he deals about 30% of your HP with one tick, and it ticks like 3 or 4 times I believe, maybe even 5, I don't know. Yeah, every 1 second for 5 seconds, yeah, it hits you 5 times I believe. So what you want to do is you want to check your HP bar so you get down to 60% and then you get down to 30%. Instead of healing yourself with Deathstrike, when it hits you the first time, you want to wait for the next hit to hit you as well, so you can full heal yourself with just one Deathstrike. This means instead of spending 4 Deathstrikes here, or 3 throughout the whole duration, well, you wouldn't really spend 4 here, but let's say 3 Deathstrikes, you would only spend 2. So yeah, this is just a better and more efficient usage of your runic power. So you just want to focus on your HP bar in general in situations where it's scary, where you can't kite or anything. So you want to use your Deathstrike basically in the last possible opportunity to get as much heal out of your Deathstrike as possible and to waste as little runic power as possible. Next point, Sky Step. This is really short and you probably know this already, but I've seen this a couple of times, that some people actually tend to pop Sky Step after they get on combat with the first enemy, and then they will do the big pull. Obviously, you don't want to do this because your Sky Step is not going to be able to recharge in combat, so you want to use or pre-use your Sky Step so it can recharge throughout the fight. So if you're going to go for another big pull right after this pack, your Sky Step is hopefully going to be ready for the next pull instead of having to wait for it or just having to do the next pull completely without Sky Step because it's not recharged by the time you're done with the pull. Purgatory Reset. I actually had this discussion every now and then in my team. I don't know, I do a pull and I proc, and for the next pull or for the next boss fight, I'm sometimes not sure if I need Purgatory or not. And just general, if you're not 100% certain that you're not going to die on the next pull, just kill yourself and res yourself and get your purgatory back. You'll maybe lose, depending on if you have to get rest or if you have a pylon, between 6 and 10 seconds because of your death. Obviously, including the 5 seconds that you lose because of your death. This is way more efficient than doing a pull without purgatory and possibly dying there, causing your whole party to wipe, depending on if they can deal with the enemies without you or not. So it's definitely worth just resetting your purgatory. Just do it if you're not 100% certain that you can deal without it. Speed set. With speed set, I don't mean my complete speed set here. What I mean by that is, for example, I have a full crit set here. And what you want to do here is, or what I do, of course it doesn't have to be crit. I just use crit here because this used to be my single turret damage build, which I don't really use anymore. But I use this for example, in lower, the first boss, if you get Beautiful Beast, Cogglestone or Cogglestone, whatever its name is, will apply this dot on you if you melee or if you're in melee range. This is an extremely nasty dot, and from my knowledge there is no way to remove this dot or prevent yourself from getting this dot. Maybe I'm wrong here. If you know how to prevent this, I'd like to know this. Just write it in the comments or whatever. But to my knowledge there's no way to prevent this from happening, but kiting it. So what I do when I fight against this guy, because this is one of the scariest bosses in my opinion, even scarier than first boss in Vault of the Wands almost, when I used to face tank him. Now, as you can see, I have my half speed set, half crit damage set on, which gives me enough speed, especially with the Amanthul proc, to just kite this guy in a circle 24/7. So I will never have to deal with a dot. This is just super pog. And you can use your actual speed, or my actual speed set, in a lot of pulls. I use this all the time. The only thing I swap is obviously my weapon instead of this one, which just gives you 10% more speed. And Riftworld Codex for just a little tiny bit of defense. And you can do so many pulls with this so easily. AoE pulls in Ifashara. Some actually lower, maybe not as much. But just general pulls where you have a lot of space. I sometimes do even speed set pulls in Seed. So yeah, it's definitely worth it. Active mitigation when it comes to survivability on bosses with special abilities that have an extra negative effect if you don't have an active mitigation up. I don't know if this is true, but from my experience before, this is actually very recent I believe, they did fix Mirror Rend, so Mirror Rend gives you the same buff as Deathstrike does. Since Deathstrike gives you a buff that's called, I believe, recently used Deathstrike or something, this buff is actually not shown on your bar, but it does exist. And this buff basically makes you immune to these additional negative bonus effects for 3 seconds or something. On Dragul or in second boss in Blackrock Hold with Vengeful Shear and just some other bosses. And I used to use Deathstrike before this would hit me, and then I had to use Deathstrike again in order to heal the incoming damage. Since you can now use Mirror Rend, again correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is recent that you actually can use Mirror Rend instead of Deathstrike. You want to use Mirror Rend before this hit occurs, and then you only have to spend 1 Deathstrike instead of 2. Another very important detail for me personally is to, whenever you use the talent ring, so yeah, there are a few occasions where I use this, for example in Seed, third boss, because he doesn't consume charges of my bone shield, so I will constantly have the buff. Same with Medivh, and same with actually not same, but I mean Yimiron has very slow attack speed, so you rarely use you don't really lose as many bone shield charges. So what you want to do here is you obviously want to pop Dancing Weapon, 1 Mirror Rend to get all your 10 stacks. Obviously everyone knows this, but what I'm getting to is for bosses like especially he and Seed, this guy hits super hard with the casts, and in order to not drop too far in the first few seconds, it's actually useful to pop your Vampiric Blood and then use Deathstrike to just get that overheal buff of your Deathstrike, which is that overheal buff. Yeah, you can get 30% maximum HP. You just want to get this applied as fast and early as possible into the fight. So yeah, you obviously just have more HP. So yeah, that's kind of important to me. Then Dranic or Dranic Living Action Potion. This is this one over here. I have this in my action bar for the past, I don't know, half of a year or something. I've never actually used this. The reason I never used this is because it's sharing the cooldown with Prolonged and with Skystep. But anyways, I'm gonna say it anyways. This potion actually prevents you from getting stunned for 3 seconds. This is sort of a PvP shit or whatever. But in the rare occasion that, I don't know, you get stunned and you still have your potion available, this can actually save your ass. So you might want to get a few of them just in case. Using aggro range for your advantage. What I mean by that is there is a lot of trash, or just trash in general in this server, that does not actually realize that you're next to them in the first 1 second or so. Sometimes it takes them even longer to realize that you are there. This is in a lot of instances kind of annoying, but it can also be your friend, because let's take Black Occult for example. After Smash Spite, the trash towards Cortalos, no matter if you killed the Fell Lords already and you only have the Guardsmen left, or you have to deal with both of them, it doesn't matter. What you want to do is you want to run in general, like you can also do the same in Lower, for example, towards a Maiden in the hallway. You want to pull as little trash as you can towards them, so they get chain pulled by the trash that you hit at the first, or like let's say you hit the first target that you encounter. So this one follows you, and this one just chain pull. This is going to chain pull everything in its path. So because of the bugged aggro range, you can sometimes just run through a pack, and this pack is not even going to notice that you were there, so you don't get hit by the pack on your way towards them. On your way back, you obviously take the hits, but this is just going to make it a bit easier for you to not proc while going towards the pull. So yeah, you only have to deal with this when you come back. Yeah, another nice trick is actually target macros. I mean, I use this very rarely. There's actually, I can only think of 2 situations here, but it's kind of useful in these 2 situations. That would be Cohen and Morph Souls. So when you kill Yimiron in Morph Souls, you have 3 packs. You have the pack in front of you, that is right in the doorway. Then you have a pack with Karsus on the right, and a pack with these rogue-like enemies on the left, and then you have the dogs. So we pull everything down there. We pull all these 4 enemy packs, but sometimes, or I mean depending on what your field of view is, or whatever you want to call it, depending on how far you can actually see nameplates, because if I spawn right after Yimiron, like right after I kill Yimiron, I am not able to see the HP bar of the Marina that is patrolling towards the dogs and towards the big mini boss. So what you want to do is you wanna, where is it actually? Here. This is a target macro for the Marina. So when I spawn down there under deck, I will instantly use this macro and I will target the Marina so I see where he is. So depending on where he is, I can go instantly all the way towards the dogs and pull them without having to worry about pulling the dogs while the Marina is in the pack, right? Because if you don't know where he is, you would go towards the dogs and then you would realize maybe too late that the Marina is right in front of you. So that's quite useful. You can also do the same in Cohen in front of Thrashbite with the mini boss that has the blind. Because sometimes it's a bit hard to see where he actually is, and if you want to do the big pull and pull everything, all the imps and everything, it can happen that you're too far away to actually know where the mini boss is. So if you would just charge in and just hope that the mini boss is in a good positioning, it could happen that you just chain pull the mini boss with the impacts, and that's gonna, well, fuck you, obviously. So this can be very useful. Then on my last DK video I forgot to mention trades, so I'm just gonna do this here. As you can see, I have 7 out of 7. Dance of Darkness, obviously, best trade ever. Best in slot, you should definitely get this. And Vampire Fangs. I actually do only have 1 additional trade here. The reason for that, although this is really good, for me personally, I just don't have the feeling that this is necessary. Like, since this only applies whenever you use Vampiric Blood, right? It only helps you when you use this. And when I use Vampiric Blood, I rarely ever die while this is up. Like, the chances that I die with Vampiric Blood up are, I don't know, 2%. Like, it happens, but it's so rarely that it's really, I don't need another 10% on this. It's completely whatever for me. And since all the other traits are kind of useless, I just went with Heartstrike. I mean, maybe you could get for you could go for Deathstrike healing. I don't know, it's like whatever to me. So I just went with Heartstrike damage for just a little bit more AoE. This can be helpful in various situations for like first boss and seed to in case you get down in the tank, you have to kill all the small ads. You can just kill them faster, and you can also leech a bit more off your Heartstrikes. Heartstrike can actually deal a lot of damage this way. So yeah, but there's also, I mean, one of the relics I actually bought with Heartstrike on it, and the other one I was just not lucky on the 3rd rank, so I went with Heartstrike because I didn't get this one. If I actually would be able to get this one on this relic on the rank 3 from the Crucible, I would probably take it, but since I didn't have the opportunity, I just went with Heartstrike. And yes, this is 975, fuck you, I know. I also got the question if it's worth going for 101 as tank. I would say it's definitely an upgrade. I mean, it does give you a bit more HP, but the HP is like kind of whatever. I think if I remember correctly, it gave me like less than 500k, and I had 86, I believe, and from 86 I went to 101. That was around 500k HP. That is okay-ish, but it's not too big of a deal. That's kind of whatever. The versatility is definitely kind of pog, and I mean, if you can afford it, you should get it, but it's definitely not a must-have. Like, I used to do high keys even before I got the 101. I got 101 like a few weeks ago, so this is kind of new for me as well. So I can definitely tell you it's not needed that much. Then for a cooldown reduction on your dancing room weapon. So let's say you have 2 big pulls in front of you, yeah? You do the first big pull, and at the last few enemies, like at the last 1 or 2 enemies that are still alive, you realize, oh, you still have like, let's say, I don't know, 30 or 40 seconds cooldown on dancing room weapon, or 20, and you will instantly go for the next pull, so there is no downtime between these pulls where your cooldown would recharge anyways. So what you can do is, you can basically, I know this sounds scary, and I really rarely ever do this, but you can actually turn your back towards the enemies, so you have no possible way of parrying them. So every hit will always make you lose 2 bone shield charges, so you will recharge your dancing room weapon way faster this way, and you don't have to wait as long for your dancing weapon to be ready for the next big pull. But again, I've done this maybe twice or 3 times so far, so this is really not a big thing, but yeah, I just wanted to point this out. Second last point would be, for example, when you do like any dungeon where you're kiting or where you're just not able to heal yourself off of enemies. I'm just gonna take the Fist here, for example. When I'm using the shield, I'm in the middle, I take the dot damage and I don't really have any possibility of healing myself because maybe I'm not playing with Blood Drinker in that dungeon. So what's actually healing you a lot is Vampire Blood plus Health Stone. This heals you for about 80% of your maximum HP, so it's basically full heal. Super good. Just wanted to say that in case you didn't know. And last point is Meld, because I've been asked if it's worth going Night Elf as a tank. And I gotta say, it's definitely worth it. There's so many occasions where this is worth it. There's so much trash where you can melt different spells, or you don't have to deal with mechanics. I mean, obviously, one of the most important things would be last boss in Black or Cold to melt the Shadow Bolt. But besides that, you can also melt Medivh's missiles, or you can melt the Vanish, which gives you Garrote on Morose. What else can you melt? I mean, you can melt technically anything, like any spell that's on you. I'm not gonna name everything here, but you get it. I think you get the point. So yeah, this video was extremely long. I did not expect it to be this long, but yeah. Anyways, I hope this helped some of you at least, or gave you, I don't know, 1 or 2 tips. Thanks for listening, and I guess I'll see you in the next video. See you guys.